there are very few individuals that are business brokers that I would refer anybody to.
The largest distribution of Dr. Pepper in the United States is in Utah County.
It's the one-off restaurants that you want to avoid.
Thinking about buying or selling a business? Before you do, listen to this episode of Revenue Rascals. I sat down with Ryan Hutchins from Peak Business Valuation, a firm that completes 25 to 35 valuations every single week. We dig into what actually makes a business valuable, what kills a valuation fast, and why you should be careful who you trust when buying. If you're building, buying, or planning an exit, this conversation will change how you think about growth and worth. Let's jump in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Revenue Rascals. Today, I have Ryan Hutchins, and we are going to talk about selling businesses. I wish that I had like a little bit of a fireworks show to go right now because it's what everybody's talking about right now. It is the silver tsunami is happening. Everybody's going to sell their business. You would be a fool not to buy a local business or any other type. I mean, the Cody Sanchez's of the world have just made this the hot trend over the last couple of years. So Ryan, we're just going to go right into it. Tell me why most businesses don't sell, because I believe that that is an accurate statement.
That is an accurate statement. Most often, most businesses don't sell because they are hobbies. And they're not run as a for-profit business. They're non-profit structured as tax savings. And so when it comes to wanting to sell, they're like, oh, I need to show a profit to sell. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what people are buying.
Yeah, that would be the truth. You know, I went down this journey when I was talking with your wife at the show where I met you guys. This is how we started chit-chatting, was that I've probably looked at close to 50 P&Ls over the last year for one of two reasons. One is someone wanted to hire me, and as a fractional CRO, I need to look at your books to make sure I can make the impact. One. Two, which was actually the biggest portion of the 50 of them, I was trying to buy a local business near Park City. So I wanted a 30-mile radius near Park City, probably more like 15 miles because it's such a micro community. And so I signed up for all the websites. Okay. I set up all the alerts, did all the things, talked to my friends, and I looked at them all and none of them were appealing. I was like, no way am I taking this problem right now. And it's exactly what you just said, is that they're treating it as either a tax shelter or a hobby business and not building it to sell. And so I'd like to kick off this episode and our conversation about like, how do you build to sell? So one is if you're starting from scratch, and then two is if you're thinking about selling your business soon, like what you should be doing so that you are attractive to a buyer.
Well, first off, so if you're building a business from scratch, most individuals where they get it wrong is they don't start with a business in mind that's going to make money. They start with more of a concept where it's like, oh, this will be great. But then it's like, okay, what are you know how to make revenue. What are the ancillary expenses associated with that revenue? And most don't think about the expenses. They just think about the revenue. And so if you're kind of building your business to get to a position to sell, ultimately, revenue is important. Expense management is also vital, because if your expenses are growing and outpacing your revenue growth, you're building a business that's unsellable. Or if you're building a business that is greatly influenced by economics, in the current economic society, primarily one that is now impacted by tariffs, if we look at e-commerce, like it's very difficult to now sell your business no matter where you're at. So first place to start if you're starting a business is just financial literacy and understanding how your profit and loss statement and your balance sheet kind of interact with each other. And that still goes with individuals that have started businesses and are in a 3 to 5 year stage of where they're at in operations. Like if you just understand your financials, you're in a much better position than the average person. Because if you understand your financials as a CRO, like if you work with someone that knows their numbers, they're going to be better able to kind of talk to potential buyers. They're also better able to position themselves to make decisions, knowing how their financial operations work. Because they're like, oh, we have excess cash flow. What should we do with that to build the business?
I think finding the resources for that financial literacy is actually really challenging for the average business owner.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's not things that like, I mean, honestly, we should have all been taught this. And unless you have an MBA, and maybe even some of them don't even do it, or real life hard knocks. So for me, how I learned this financial literacy was by starting a business, owning a business, and then getting in other people's businesses. So I learned it boots on the ground and then just like studying, on my own. But if someone's listening to this right now that is like, okay, I've got a good business. I'm like a 25% margin and I think I can scale this thing, but I'm too involved. I think that's the other crux, right? So you finally have this business that has some profitability, it's running, but like, will it fall apart without you? And I think that's an interesting reflection point. I remember I was talking to a business coach once, and she suggested to all of her clients, because she helps people sell their businesses, is that, if you can't leave your business for a month, then you're not ready. You're not going to get the multiple that you want. So would you agree with that, or could add some additional flavor?
Oh, I would 100% agree with that. So speaking of Park City, me and two other individuals bought a business in Park City in 2021.
Really?
Yes.
Are you allowed to like share what business this is? Because my brain's like blowing right
Yeah.
now. What are the odds?
Do you know the company Water Science?
Water signs. I've seen signs for it.
They,
What? But
they,
I haven't. I'm not been in there. What is it?
so Water Science provides water solutions for installing reverse osmosis and water softeners in homes.
Mm-hmm.
So Water Science is in Silver Summit and basically dominates the market.
Do you have a truck that says #1 reviewed or rated water
Yeah,
service?
we do.
Oh my gosh. So I dropped my dog off today at doggy daycare because I was doing all these interviews all day and I don't need a puppy in the background. And we go to Rocky Mountain Canine. So I think that I saw your truck driving next to me today.
Yeah, and there's a big water droplet on the side.
Yep.
So
That was it.
yeah, so what made Water Science attractive when we were looking at purchasing it is ultimately the owner, like their primary responsibility was in sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so like being able to replace them, we essentially focus on, okay, how do we mitigate that risk? For most individuals, it's very difficult. So Water Science, we were able to do that. If we look at Peak Business Valuation, granted, we sold in December, but ultimately I had to sign a 3-year employment contract.
Mm-hmm.
And reason being is I was not only kind of the puppeteer in how the operation was running, and I was the interface with a lot of clients. And from a sales perspective, I represented 90% of sales. And
Mm-hmm.
so like there was a huge risk component. Granted, the company that bought us is working at de-risking and kind of making a better management team around me.
Mm-hmm.
But it's very difficult to sell a business that is solely focused on the owner. Because one, when you're doing your due diligence and trying to buy it, like there's so much that you're not even going to see because you're not in the operation day to day watching the owner. And something can only happen every 6 months that the owner is pivotal for, and you'll never know. So the
Mm-hmm.
owner is a huge part in if you have to de-risk yourself and kind of build a team or give your responsibilities out to others that are currently on your team so that when you are looking to sell, you can just point like, hey, this is what I do, but this is the redundancy amongst the team that can do my responsibilities.
Yeah, you just you touched on something that's like near and dear to my heart. So, I love selling. I love sales. I love sales teams. I did a training this morning, 2 hours for a life science company, 40 sales reps, teaching them how to do account management, territory planning. Like I get a high off of it. And people can tell when I talk about it. They're like, "Oh yeah, okay, yeah, bring Michelle and we'll listen to Michelle," right? So, I love this so much. But I was like, I guess 4 years ago, when I started getting into larger businesses and started working with companies that wanted to eventually sell, my first question would be like, so who sells in your business right now? Who's responsible for it? And 99% of the time it was founders. And these were pretty big companies too, not like enterprise level, but large, like, startups or scaling startups. And I said to them, well, if you want to get the multiple you want and you don't want to have an employment contract after you sell, you should probably figure out how to train somebody else to sell. And so I created this program years ago to teach founders how to exit the sales role. And I actually had an idea recently that I should go to all of these private equity and VCs and be like, hey, you want to de-risk all those businesses you're investing in? You should get the founder out of sales. Would you like my program? So you basically just validated my whole life right now. And I feel really good about it.
So that's what I'm here for. And it has taken me a while because what we do in valuing companies, like
Mm-hmm.
it requires one, I don't know, I retain information well. I retain
Yeah.
numbers well. And so we have to know in sales, like almost every industry, how to talk to someone doing 1 million in revenue to 20 million to 100 million in revenue because those conversations change. And so just training a salesperson, like it took years to train someone. And now I've been able to hire individuals that have 13, 20, 25 years experience to join our team and kind of do sales. And it's like, oh, you guys already know how to do it because you've lived the technical. And de-risking and getting other people to do sales is so hard as a founder because it's your baby.
Oh my gosh. It's so hard. And I hate to break it to you, but no one's going to sell as good as you. So that is what it is. And especially in the beginning. So you have to be okay with selling less, but it's scalable. So the numbers number at the end. But I think that's the biggest like misconception is like, okay, let's say you convert 80% of your like sales calls, right? Well, when you first bring someone on, it's going to be less than that. I've never seen it be more or equal unless you have a very long shadowing period of time, which you may have had. But most of the time it's going to be a little bit down, but you can sell more, it's scalable, and you yourself are not the person selling anymore. And so, I mean, who doesn't want, I don't know, I know very few founders that want to stay in the sales role for the rest of their life. Like they enjoy it in the beginning, it energizes them, it helps them create a better product, a better customer experience. Like, but at the end of the day, most people build businesses so they can have like the leisure in the background instead of having to like just replace their 9 to 5. So there's a saying that I love that like, oh, I left my 9 to 5 to work 24 hours a day
And that,
as a business owner.
and that's the best misconception of business ownership. Everyone thinks you're escaping the 9 to 5, but really all you do is eat, sleep, dream about your business. And you're like, oh, if this goes wrong, I'm screwed.
Yeah. Yeah, this kind of a lot of pressure.
Yep.
Especially when you start having team members and you're growing and all of the things. So, Ryan, let's educate my audience. So, the people who listen to this show, they're going to be in one of two places. They're either looking to buy something or they're looking to sell. That period. So let's talk about the person who's actually looking to buy selfishly because I'm still in that camp. So if anything comes around your plate that you think would be a good fit for me, you let me know. But let's talk about buying. Let's talk about finding, funding, evaluating, like wherever you would like to start right now.
Well, yeah, let's start with the finding because that's actually the most difficult piece of the puzzle. Because if you're, let's use the Utah market, like you have your base of business brokers
Mm-hmm.
and the occasional real estate agent that wants to be a business broker but isn't. And they post their listings on Biz by Sell, or if you are really good the best way to get on a business broker list is just to send them people interested in buying businesses. And then they're like, hey, you've done all this for me, giving me referrals. We just got this offer. It's not listed. Do you want to first look at it? So like there's different
Mm.
ways to get on the good side of a business broker where you can actually see the good deals before they actually come to light.
Can we take a pause there?
Yeah.
Because maybe that's what I've been screwing up this whole time is I'm waiting for them to be posted. And I like had a feeling that anything that gets posted couldn't be sold. So I'm like, oh my God, it's like the leftovers. So maybe I'm right.
To some degree, it just depends on the broker. Because there are instances where most of the bad ones are the ones listed.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for deals that are for sale by owner. That's usually who I like. If I'm working with a seller that doesn't need to sell, it's like, hey, like you could do XYZ to kind of put together marketing material, and you can post yourself on Biz Buy Sell for like $50 a month, and just see who bites. Because
Yeah.
ultimately, like a lot of business brokers just do that. So another thing to do if you're looking for a business is just get very focused in like you want to look at roofing companies. Right now, my partners and I are just looking at plumbing companies. And so because we
Mm.
know what plumbing companies we want, we are just approaching those companies throughout Utah, Weaver, Salt Lake, Washington, and Cache Valley. And so we're just approaching them and just building relationships. Like, hey, you don't have to sell, but one day you're gonna want to sell. And I know by planting a seed in your ear, it's gonna bug you that like, hey, I don't have to go through this stressful day. I have someone already in the wing that wants to buy my business. I could just sell and just live in bliss, which never happens as a seller. So you try to catch them when they're in emotional states because ultimately that's the issue with most people trying to sell a business is they confuse emotion with logic, and emotion is not the best way to sell a business. So
Yeah.
as a buyer, those are the best strategies to implement.
What's interesting, Ryan, on that one is that I created like a deal box.
Huh?
So I created a deal box of like what I wanted in a business. And I did do that for a bit and like reached out to companies and stuff. And I planted probably like 20, 25 seeds in like people's inboxes. So I'm still hoping one day I get that reply. Like I treated it like prospecting, like in sales. So I was like, all right, this is what I want. Here's my quadrants. Here's my deal box, what I'm willing to do, all of the things. And, I still haven't had that success point yet, but I'm not giving up, Ryan.
It's hard because you have to make consistent effort, and like there's one individual that we're targeting, and I shouldn't say targeting, that we're just trying to build a relationship with because it would
Yeah.
be a very complimentary business.
Mm-hmm.
And we've connected on LinkedIn, we've chatted on LinkedIn, I've sent text messages, called, emails, and he only responds on LinkedIn, which to me is just funny because
Yeah,
it's like
you
the
never know.
opposite. So it's just trying to get in their faces, and then if you want to be so bold, you just show up and you're like, "Hey, I'm looking for Bill," and they're like, "Who is this?" And you're like, "I'm an insurance agent." You just make up some backstory. But yeah, finding a business is the most difficult piece. Like once you have a business in play, then it's if it hasn't gone through a traditional broker where there is a listing price, an asking price, like
Mm-hmm.
when you're working with the seller directly, like it is you almost skip the letter of intent stage
Mm.
because you're the only person they're talking to. Like they're not looking to sell to someone else because you've caught them out of the blue. And so they're like, "Hey, let's see where this goes. And if it goes well, we sell. If it doesn't go well, at least I know what areas to work on because you're going to point them out as the buyer. Like these are my red flags." And that's actually one of the best ways to then prepare to sell your business in the future because you already had someone else do the due diligence on your company. It's not an ethical way of doing it from a seller's perspective to
Mm-hmm.
understand what the red flags are, but it is one of the fastest ways.
Money loves speed. So it's like sometimes you just have to make the moves that are the fastest. And and I love how you're talking right now about if you're not in a business broker environment, then you have your ability as a potential buyer to also evaluate and suggest a price or to use something like your company. And so so everyone wants to go to it. It's peakbusinessvaluation.com to get a proper valuation, because what I have noticed, and something that you talked about briefly here, is that a lot of times people make emotional decisions or emotional evaluations versus versus just the tactical, like this is what it should be. Because I mean, I did my due diligence on these deals that I was looking at, and I actually went back and, like, I didn't use a service like yours, but now that I know that you're around and you're a local, the next time I'll probably engage. But I just, I went through it and just with my own knowledge and said, this is what I think like a fair price is. And it's always lower than what the seller thinks it's worth, at least in my experience. And, I do my best. I'm a master in communication to deliver things and, like, the best way possible so that we don't have meltdowns. But there was a couple of times where people were so offended. And I literally just said to them, no problem. The intention wasn't to offend you. However, in 6 months from now, if you still can't sell your business at what you think it's worth or things don't change, please come back to me. I'm an open door.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the best thing to do. Because if, like, you can look at businesses and you can easily tell that if they're overvalued. Just
Easily.
from an initial gut feeling. But like when they work with brokers, more likely than not, like I'll go into why brokers and business valuators kind of get into a fight. It's not really a
Ooh,
fight,
I
but
like this. Ooh, let's
like
go there. Let's go there. Why do you guys fight? I want to know.
yeah. So if you look online, business brokers will offer free valuations, and that is their gimmick to get you to kind of crawl to them. But if you think about it from the perspective of a broker, what is, like, you always want to understand their end game. What's their end game? Their end game is to get a listing, sell your business, make a 10% commission. And so they're incentivized to sell your business for as much money as possible. And we've been asked because we value 25 to 35 companies a week, and we get asked by sellers to be a business broker. And we always tell them, no, we're hired to be an independent, unbiased party to just help you understand the value of the business. Like if someone else were to hire us to do the same thing, it would be the same. And so, like, with knowing as a buyer, looking at a business, let's say by a broker, like, you're almost always safe to come in at 10% lower.
Oh, because you know that they're trying to get their 10% commission.
Yep.
Light bulb. Light bulb. Ryan, I feel like that's like a major nugget of truth that you just dropped.
Well, it's like I chat with buyers every day, and when I share that, they're like, "Oh, that totally makes sense." And it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, like if
it
they're in
does.
it to make money and they're taking their money out of the sale price, like, it has to be baked in there some way. And there are very few individuals that are business brokers that I would refer anybody to. So, like, I have a list of 3 individuals that I would go to in a heartbeat. Like, hey, you need a business broker, go here. Because they're just straight shooters. And because
Mhm.
they're straight shooters and they don't try to overprice, like, they're able to sell, like, there's a business broker in Vegas, his name's Trent Lee.
Mhm.
Like, when I last spoke to him, he had over 30, 35 companies in escrow and 70 in his pipeline that he was selling.
Wow.
And it's like, you are a stud. Like, that's awesome. And it's because he's fair and reasonable and people trust him to not take advantage. And so from a buyer, like if you find a broker like that, you want to be best friends with that person because every deal that they put out, like you want to be the first to know about it because you know you're going to get a good deal.
Yeah, that's a really interesting perspective. I think it's very valuable for everyone to hear. You said something though very quickly that I'm going to pull out and redirect this conversation to. So you are valuing 25 to 35 businesses per week.
Yep.
I mean, I don't, this is why, I don't know what I should expect for you to say, but to me, that feels like a lot. Is that a lot in your industry?
It is a lot for our industry. And we do like half of our revenue is associated with SBA lending. And so we're performing business valuations for lenders in conjunction with a 7A loan that a
Mm.
buyer is going through to get proper financing to buy the company. The other portion is related to individuals buying and selling companies. And then we do a lot in respect to divorce and litigation. And we do a lot of forensic accounting work in conjunction with business valuation. So it's fun. I like you chatted with my wife. Like Kelly and I never knew this is where the company would be. Like we just started it because I knew how to value companies. Like it was just, hey, this is if we're gonna want to be traveling nomads,
Hmm.
this is a great business to bring in revenue and income and make a living. And then you start growing and getting a reputation, and you're like, oh, we should hire people.
This sounds good. So Ryan, let's talk a little bit about that. Like I love that you're traveling the nomad life. That is one when at first I thought I wanted to buy a local business, but then I changed my deal box to something that I mean it could be physically in Utah, but I don't want it to like strap me to anywhere because I don't do well in constraint. Which is why I own my own business. So, but let's talk a little bit about like what was your background that made you so great at valuing these businesses and like what gave you the courage and the excitement to go out and to build what you have. And from an outsider's perspective, you built something like I can already pick up little pieces. Like you have the relationship with the lenders. So that's a great relationship to get the repeat business for the underwriting. You probably have great relationships with the divorce attorneys. Like I can like probably map out your entire strategy in the next like 4 minutes, but I won't. But I see all of these like amazing things that you've done in order to make yourself valuable to then sell and to be purchased. So take us back to what you were doing before Peak Business Valuation and how you ended up where you are right now.
Yeah, I'll give you cliff notes. So my
Great.
background is in finance and accounting, just from a schooling perspective. I was working in San Francisco at Deloitte as a tax accountant, and I was
Mm-hmm.
accustomed to working 80, 90-hour weeks. And I wanted a more simple life. And so I had a buddy working at a business valuation firm in Utah, and he loved working on Saturdays. And I'm like, I work Saturdays. I don't enjoy it. And I'm like, I should go work for you. So came worked at my buddy's business valuation firm that he was at and learned that I love looking at companies and dissecting companies and understanding what makes them tick, what are the positives and the negatives. And because I was accustomed to working 80, 90-hour weeks, like I spent basically all my free time, and I'm an early bird. I like waking up at 3 a.m. to just learn and understand. And I got to a point where I understood valuation. I read valuation theory, which is for people who want to love it. They're 900 books. They're super exciting. But I got into sales. And once I got into sales and started understanding, like, this is how you kind of connect with individuals, and I understood operations, hiring, managing. Like that's when I met Kelly. Kelly and I got married, and Kelly and I were like, we should start a business. And Kelly loved the marketing component and building relationships and speaking a message to people. And it's like with your skill set, my skill set, like if we just make $200,000 a year, like that's gold. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how it all began. And it really, for us, we enjoyed the education side of business
Mm-hmm.
valuation, which at that time, from an SEO perspective, there was nothing online. And so we were able to write content, like a lot of content, create YouTube videos, social media, and we just went after SEO hard and building relationships that we were able to build trust with everyone around us in Utah and outside of Utah, and being with banks and attorneys and CPAs are seeing our work. Like it just built our brand. And one of the other things is I started like starting a business valuation firm at the age of 28 is unknown. And
Bold.
and so from that perspective, like everyone knew we were young and hungry from a relationship standpoint. So they're like, oh, we could get them to do whatever we wanted to do. And
Mm-hmm.
like we would do it. It's like, hey, you need this. Like I'm willing to put 16 hours in to like make that pipe dream a dream. But more importantly, we focused on Google reviews because
Mm-hmm.
everyone focused on net promoter score. And like net promoter score doesn't mean anything to me. Like you ask a survey question and you got 9 out of 10. Awesome. Like Google reviews, I look for a good Chinese restaurant and I'm going to go with the highest rated, most reviewed. And so like that's a strategy that we went after and actually served us well because no one is at all close to us. So I use it as a gimmick in sales. You'll like this. So like if someone's doing price comparison, which happens all the time in my space, I'm like, hey, if you find another valuation firm with over 700 Google reviews that's valuing 25 to 35 companies a week, I'll give you a 10% discount. Like I'll beat their price.
Oh my God, that's really good, Ryan.
So,
Have you ever had anyone be able to find somebody and come back to you?
no, they haven't. But like I like creating little things. Like from a voicemail perspective, like our voicemail at Peak is, hey, if we don't call you within an hour, I'll give you a 5% discount just to encourage people to leave voicemail. So like we try all these different strategies and that's what's helped us like grow because we're not afraid to try something new.
I love that so much. And I think keeping the fresh ideas and being excited and also loving what you do. Like that's why I started this podcast was for similar reasons you were creating content around business valuations. I feel like a lot of business growth strategies just are not public knowledge, especially when it comes to some of the sales and revenue strategies. And I was kind of tired of that. I was like, I've gated everything for the last 7 years. Like, I'm just going to let loose on some of this because I want as many businesses as possible to be successful. And, it's been fun to get those messages back from people who listen or like, hey, you told me to do this, so I did it and it worked. And I'm so excited. Like, that's pretty satisfying. So I think that if you love what you do and what either product or service you deliver, like regardless how many hours you're working, it becomes like a really joyful thing.
Oh, it's so fun. I love what I do. I feel like I play Monopoly. So it's fun.
Which is awesome. Okay, so then let's talk about some more tips around, the buying and selling process. What is something that everyone needs to know, and you can pick if you want it to be buyer or seller side of like maybe what they would be unprepared for that they should be prepared for?
So I'm in the
I know.
process of buying a business right now. And one of the primary concerns that people often overlook is just the people component. And this is both from the sell side and the buy side because your people are the foundation of the success of the company. They are the frontline individuals that if you're in services that your customers are interacting with on a daily basis. And so when it comes to selling, like when you work with a broker or you work with just any intermediary trying to sell your business, like usually they will gatekeep and not allow you to interact with the team before the transaction. And that
Mm.
that actually is very difficult for you as a buyer because you want to understand everyone involved in the operation. You want to make sure that you yourself are a culture fit amongst those people, because day one, when you walk in, you're like, hey guys, I just bought the business, and you're just a stranger to them. And so that to me is the biggest piece of a puzzle, that if the seller is going to walk away day one, there's no integration, there's no like real like employment contract to keep them there in transition. Like you're just a stranger. So like one of the businesses we bought, all the employees except for one within 12 months had churned. And so like we had to learn hiring. And you don't
Mm-hmm.
expect that whenever you buy a business. And as a seller, you never expect that to happen, because you're like, oh, these people were so loyal to me. Why wouldn't they be loyal to you? And it's like they're only loyal because they trusted you. And now they're having to build trust with someone else. So out of all the financial due diligence, legal due diligence, HR due diligence, and people, is by far the most overlooked process in buying or selling a business.
So how do you mitigate that? Like, I mean, how do you solve for that problem?
That is a great question. So the business we're trying to buy, I have been pushing every single week to talk to their team. So with this business, I've been asking to interview and talk to the team. And one of the ways to mitigate is, if you're not able to talk to the team, is you make closing conditions in your purchase agreement that so and so team members have to sign employment agreements before the purchase agreement is signed. And so that's a key component to mitigate, but it doesn't necessarily negate that risk.
Yeah, because then you have people who hate you who are staying only because their employment agreement.
Yes. So like it's very it's all about building trust with the seller.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and that's what I've been trying to like affirm every single week, that hey, like yes, we're a competitor, but at the end of the day, we signed a non-disclosure agreement. We have morals, we have integrity, we have a code of ethics that we adhere to. Like, if we talk to your team, we are not going to poach your team. But they're also afraid as a seller that as soon as you talk to someone on the team, like that individual's like, people are unpredictable. And so you never know what thoughts that are curating in their mind as
Yes.
to, okay, they're selling the business. Like, what does this mean from a job security standpoint? Because the average individual that's employed, they care about money and security. And so it's understanding that mindset. It's like, we're going to keep that in place. We're not taking it away. Like, we're not going to make any changes. So like whenever I look at a business, we basically tell the seller that our goal is not to change anything that would impact the people, and just trying to build trust so that we do get in. But some sellers don't allow you. If there's a business broker, sometimes the business brokers don't allow you. Another sneaky way of understanding people is hiring private investigators to do background checks on every single person employed. So
Oh.
it's costly, but one of the reasons to do it, especially amongst key people, is to understand if they've already started a competing business, because that is a high probability, or if they have some sort of financial duress in their lives, that like you just try to understand everything about the people to ensure like what they're, just to understand their motives.
Well, you just took that to a whole next level with the private investigator. Do you know what I was going to suggest, which now feels so silly compared to that? What I had done a couple of times was I was a secret shopper. So I would just go in
Yep.
and of businesses I was like interested in. I was looking at their P&Ls. I had signed all the things, and I just went as a secret shopper to see like what the experience would be like. Also with some of my clients who are interested in buying different companies, I would take sales calls with those people to see how the sales team was.
Mhm.
And so like my secret shopper thing, I thought that was pretty creative, but private investigator, I felt squashed.
Actually, a secret shopper is actually perfect. So we do that sometimes on a business valuation side. Like if I have buddies that are buying companies and they're like, "Hey, let me hire your company." I'm like, "No, like I'm going to give you like I'll pay for the valuation. Just go hire another valuation firm and tell me about the experience and let me see the end result." Like as a secret buyer or mystery shopper, like that's probably the best way to do it unless the owner is at the company. And
Mm-hmm.
so the owner is going to start acting
Fair.
weird.
Yeah.
But if you can go, or if you're doing sales calls and you're like, you just have your friends help you out and and just interact with them. So that actually works very well. A lot of people don't know how to execute it well because
Yeah.
it requires more of their time. And so hence the investigator, because
Yes. Hence the
you're just
investigator.
forking over money to them to do a job.
Yep. I think I learned the secret shopping model years ago when I was working with a client that had lots of locations, and I was in charge of restructuring the sales team, which I do all the time. And I was like, cool. So I called a bunch of my friends. Like I just looked up with the struggling locations. There was a couple dozen of them. And I called friends that I knew lived in the metropolitan area. I was like, guess what you're going to do today? And I would send them off and I'd be like, I'll buy you lunch. I'll give you a gift card, but I need you to go here, ask these questions, get this far in the sales process, get the proposal. And even a couple of times I had them purchase things so I could see what the customer purchase experience was like.
Yep.
And it was gold.
Oh, it is.
It's gold. You can't figure it out any other way. Cause I can't tell you how many times, and you probably have had a similar experience. I don't know anybody else. You make like a large investment in something for your business. It could be a service or a product or a person. And it's like they were so good in that initial experience, the interview or the sales call. And then you get in and you're onboarded and you're like, WTF? Like, what is even happening? Like, the wool was pulled over my eyes with the sales conversation, and no one's going to be able to do anything for me. Like, I have had this happen countless times. So I do agreements and, contracts differently after lessons learned. However, I just love the model and I think it works really well.
It works perfectly. And I chat with 40 people a week and I have all my calls recorded and it just sounds like you just stack them on top of each other and it's like, wow, it's the same conversation every time. And
It's
like,
so true.
but there was one of the sales strategies that I'm looking into that would potentially change kind of how my team reacts is do you follow Alex Hermosi at all?
Oh, yes.
Okay, so in his last book launch, he put a checkbox for the VIP experience,
Yep.
and it was a complete hoax. By checking the box, it did not do anything different than the normal sales experience, except for the dopamine effect that it had on the user checking that box.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's something that I'm looking at implementing on our form fields because
Yes.
everybody wants a VIP experience, but they don't know what a VIP experience is because it's not explained. It's just the normal experience, but now you just get to talk to me more. So like,
That's so true. Yeah, I listened to his whole live, like the 2 hour webinar that he did, or three, I don't even know how long. It was a lot. And I listened to it, and he's a great showman. A great showman. I will give him that, and that guy works really, really hard. So that's basically my opinion. But yeah, he's got a lot of really interesting sales strategies, and he's helped so many businesses. So yeah, I mean it's a creative one. But yeah, you have to look around your surroundings, like what's working for other people. Like I go through funnels all the time. Like I will click in, I will opt in. I actually have an email address dedicated to all of the opt-ins, so I don't have to actually read them all. So And then I'll go through it all, like watch their email sequences and all the things. You have
Oh
to like
yeah.
study your craft, right? All right, rascals, let me ask you this. How much money have you wasted replacing shoes, sneakers, or even bags that could have lasted way longer if only you'd been taken better care of them? I know for me, running from meetings to kids' activities, life gets messy fast. And that's why I always have Jason Mark Quick Wipes on hand. Jason Mark is trusted care to help you get the most out of what you wear. They're not just about cleaning. They're about protecting what you love while protecting the planet. Their wipes are now 100% plant-based and plastic-free, made from renewable lyocell fibers. They're individually wrapped so you can toss them in your bag, your car, or like me, your kids' backpacks. And it's not just convenience. Jason Mark is part of the worldwide B Corp movement, meeting the highest standards for social and environmental impact. They're EPA Safer Choice certified, so you know the formulas are safe for your family. And their products are USDA bio-based and certified biodegradable. That means no harmful junk like PFAS or VOCs. Just high performance care that keeps your stuff looking fresh while doing right by the planet. Personally, as a busy mom and entrepreneur, Quick Wipes are my favorite. They've saved my sneakers from coffee spills, playground dust, you name it. One wipe and I'm ready to walk into my next meeting looking sharp. So here's the deal. Go to jasonmark.com and use promo code Revenue Rascals at checkout for 25% off your order. One time per customer. Again, that's jasonmark.com, code Revenue Rascals. And remember, this podcast is free thanks to sponsors like Jason Mark. I'm ungating sales strategies people pay me six figures for. So go support them, grab your Quick Wipes or your favorite product, and keep your kicks looking fresh. So, Ryan, let's pivot the conversation a little bit to types of businesses that you're loving right now, that you're doing 25, 35 valuations a week. Like, what is standing out to you as like some top businesses right now?
So some businesses, I'll jump into businesses that I've looked at buying
Great.
recently from a personal perspective. One of which is a dumpster business, which is not sexy whatsoever. The primary risk is there's no moat. It's you create relationships that are based on terms for 1 to 3 year contracts. A dumpster costs around $53,000 to $6,000 to purchase, and you buy a specialty truck. They come pick the dumpster, drive it, dump it, put a new one back. And so and generally you only need 2 to 3 vehicles to do this, and you can have like this company that I was looking at had about 40 dumpsters. And had
Wow.
contracts with different, primarily home builders and commercial builders. And in some instances, home remodelers. And like you look at these companies and you're like, this is great because you don't need a lot of employees. You don't need a lot of equipment. And it's just building relationships. And so from a time perspective, it doesn't require that much time involvement from your end. However, there's no moat around it, meaning there's like anyone can enter into that space. And so for that reason, I looked at it, thought it was awesome, pulled myself out of the cloud and was like, if we get into this, like one, it's tied to the housing economy. If anything were to happen there, you're pretty much done. 2, it's almost a price to the bottom type business model, because what stops someone besides your contract for someone to come in and offer 10% less than you, and they're providing the exact same service. So I thought that business was awesome. It's a great business for anyone out there. There's more popping up every day in Utah just because of the growth.
Well, yeah, and people just have like Americans are horrible with their junk and their stuff. It's like I mean, they have dumpster parties in Park City. Like HOAs buy dumpsters. And it's like a dumpster party and everyone dumps their stuff
Oh,
out the same couple of days.
and it's a great place to the dumpster dive in Park City.
Or you could just go to the Christian Science Center. That's where the good stuff goes.
Yeah, that's also true. So like other businesses that I've been looking at, like I like multi-location restaurants because they've been able to prove their concepts. But ultimately, in order to, I myself have no experience in restaurants. And so I've partnered with individuals that do, and I invest in those individuals. And so, like, if you can prove a concept out in one location and you can do it in a second, doing it in a third is that much easier. And so that is a great business model to be in.
I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised on the restaurant one because it's such a low margin and it's so people dependent.
Oh,
So I'm surprised by this one.
it depends. It completely depends. We've worked with restaurants that like you know the brands, you look at the brands, you look at the company and you're like, you're doing $4 million per location at a 15% profit margin. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you have 8 of those. That's awesome.
That's fair. That's
But-
fair.
So like, yeah, it's the one-off restaurants that are you want to avoid. It's a multi-location, or if it's a franchise model, like for instance, Crumble is doing okay. We've worked with a lot more Crumble cookie franchises transacting this year than we did last year.
Mhm.
And they're all kind of on like more of a downward trend, but it's just a slight downward movement. But Crumble is pivoting into dirty soda.
That does not surprise me, and that is so Utah.
Well, and we were looking at Crumble locations in Texas. So they're introducing like if you think about it, a Crumble cookie space, like a lot of that space is kind of unutilized.
You're
And
right.
so like they have all this space, they have the infrastructure. And so like and it always amazes me how many people like soda.
It blows my mind. So there's actually a fun fact. I think it's Dr. Pepper has the largest distribution of Dr. Pepper in the United States is in Utah County.
Oh, and their Dr. Pepper with peach, their Southern whatever it's called, is really good. It's whenever I get asked for a drink order and they're on to swig, it's like just you could go pick that up for me.
That's okay. Now I know what your thing is.
Yeah, but really right now the hot businesses are anything within contracting, specialty contracting. However, a lot of banks are cracking down on anyone looking to buy a specialty contractor because they want you as the primary guarantor or individual buying the business to have the appropriate licensing to manage and operate the business if something were to go wrong. So that's why my partners and we've started buying plumbing companies without going down a route of getting bank financing to avoid that. So that we kind of create really good contracts with the master plumbers. That is a really hot space. It's very hard for me to tell anyone what industry to focus on because there are great businesses in every industry and very bad businesses in every industry. Some have higher failure rates, but it really comes down to how well positioned is that company, what's the reputation, and are you going to be an add to it or are you going to detract from it? So if you can add value to it, or if you just keep it, like this is what I tell people buying businesses. If you just keep the business in its status quo and it doesn't grow any bit, like you just pay off the debt, you have an awesome cash flowing business. Like you don't have to grow a company. You just have to be able to manage it well enough that you don't kill it and you just keep it at the same size and be content.
Yeah, that is a lesson. Okay, I have one last question before I go into my actual last question. So let's talk about different financing options that you have seen out there in the wild. I have talked to so many people who have creatively financed how to purchase their first business or their second business or their third business. And, there's a lot of hype right now that people are willing to do seller financing. I don't know if that is true or not. I mean, of course there is, but I don't know if it's as hyped up like in reality as it actually is. So talk to us a little bit for like maybe 90 seconds about the options that are available outside of your typical like SBA loan.
So like you have your SBA, you have your seller financing. There's different kind of small, kind of specialty financing companies out there that will do bridge loans to you to buy a
Mm-hmm.
business, and they'll do it as part of like getting conventional financing.
Yeah, just like a home. Like you can do a bridge loan on buying a home or a piece of
Yeah, but
property.
you're
So
paying
similar.
18%. Like you're paying like
Correct.
1.25% with a 3% drawdown fee. And you're like, well, that's not great. So like there's different creditors out there. You can always go the route of raising equity, which to me, like I don't like raising equity if I don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
because one, you're now just not putting your own money at risk, you're putting someone else's. And so you have like you went into business to buy a business. When you raise equity to buy a business, you're now in business for someone else.
I say it a lot. Do you really want OPM? Other people's money. Do you
Yep.
want it?
So, but like that's it's either banks, equity, or seller financing. Like that is the best money out there, because if you go to like I will lend money to businesses, but only to businesses that I'm already a part of, because
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm gonna make my money back. And we're acquiring or building. And so for that, from from that perspective, like it's less risky on my end as the debtor. But seller financing is really hard. It is by far one of the best options out there. One, it's easier to close on,
Mm-hmm.
um, because you don't have to wait on the timeline of a banker. And two, it provides a steady income stream for the seller that they were accustomed to when they owned the business. And that's where a financial advisor comes into play, is you need someone in the corner of the seller who is telling them like sound advice, instead of, hey, if you get all this in a lump sum, you get hit with taxes in your first year, but we could put it in the stock market and we'll make 8%. And it's like, awesome. Or like, but with the seller financing, you'd say, hey, like we could allocate your tax consequence over a 6 to 8 year period, and it could be less than 40%, just because now you're making less money and you're married filing jointly, so you fall under this AGI, and so you get taxed at a lower bracket, and that's an automatic savings that no one ever talks about. And now you're getting interest income is taxed differently than principal. And so you're at a different tax rate there, and it's consistent income on a monthly basis. Like it's it's a perfect way to retire that most sellers don't think through, because they think they can make better money choices elsewhere. And
Yeah.
you look at real estate, a lot of real estate right now, you can't find good yields in real estate. Cap rates are low. In the stock market, like it's no matter what, the stock market's a gamble. Like it's why not bet on the business that has been producing for you already? And you put a clause in your purchase agreement that you could basically claw back the business if they don't pay you over like a 2 to 3 month stretch, and you get your business back. And it might be in a worse position. So like there's a lot of risks that you're taking, but you could structure in such a way that it's a win-win for you and the buyer, where it's that to me is the best form of financing, is a seller note.
Yes. Oh my gosh. You dropped so much goodness right there. And so now I've learned that you're collecting K1s is what I've learned. So with all of your new acquisitions, like you're a K1 collector. So now I know this. And so you probably have to file in October like me as well. And April is too close. But anyway, here is my last question for you. And, I prep you that I'm going to ask this. And I think it's funny because I said, what's the most rascal thing you've ever done in business? And you're like, oh, nothing. And I've heard, I don't know, 15 things in this interview. So absolutely not accurate. So I'm going to challenge and push back on you. Like, what's the most rascal thing that you've done in business to grow?
Okay, I'll use one story. So when we first started Peak, I went to a conference for bankers, and I missed the cutoff deadline, and so I just showed up at the conference, created a name tag to match everybody else's name tag, walked in, got kicked out within 15 minutes of doing that,
Oh my God.
and someone had made an introduction to a banker while I was there in that short period of time, and that basically created a relationship that has now lasted 7 years.
Oh my gosh, that is a great story.
So I feel bad looking back on it, but it's a fun story to tell. And the organizers of that banking event, like, they know the story and they find it funny, but they also it was grounds on me never being a part of the organization too. And so, but like, that is the most risky thing I've done to start a business.
Well, you know what? That is a fantastic story. It's sort of like you were like a wedding crasher at a business convention. Got it.
Yeah, pretty much. And
Oh my God, I love it.
my favorite hotel in the world, actually, I don't know if that's a good way of stating it, but my favorite hotel is Hotel Park City. And so
Good to know.
I was reading a book by Anik Singhal at the pool while Kelly was giving a conference to a group of women in the hotel. And I was sitting poolside reading this book, and this was 2 months of building the business without making sales. And I was reading it, and it dawned on me, like, gosh, I could do this. If he could do it and lose millions of dollars and then make it all back, I could do it. And so I have fond memories of Hotel Park City. Hence why I always wanted to buy a business in Park City.
Well, you did it.
It's a magical place.
It is a magical place. I feel like the mountain air is like infectious or something. People just behave and act differently when they're in the Park City, they're in the Park City world. So that's amazing. Well, Ryan, that is a wrap up for our interview. This was so much fun. I appreciate your time. And I feel like we could probably talk for another hour, but maybe we'll have you back on for another topic.
Yeah, that works. And
Awesome.
I'll figure out the lighting. Instead of hiding from the sun.
You look like Jesus right now. Thanks for listening to Revenue Rascals, where we turn bold ideas into predictable revenue and prove that breaking the rules can still build empires. If you love what you heard, do me a favor. Tap the links in the show notes to support our sponsors. They're the ones keeping this show free so I can keep ungating the six-figure strategies that help you scale faster, lead smarter, and take more freedom home with you. And hey, if you think you'd make an incredible guest or know someone who's built something worth studying, email me at hello@michelleterpstra.com. And until next time, stay sharp, stay bold, and stay just a little bit rascal.